Hi, welcome to Charlotte's Cooking Show. I'm Charlotte. Today we are making my all-time favorite shepherd's pie. I have been making shepherd's pie since I was probably 10 or 11 years old. I think it started as like, hey Char, can you help us with supper and just get things started? Just fry up the ground beef and add some ketchup to it and we'll make some potatoes. Shepherd's pie, there you go. Well, since then, after watching, lots of cooking shows, and I love reading cooking books and all that kind of stuff, I have refined my shepherd's pie recipe. It's a whole lot more than just ketchup and potatoes, and we're going to make it today. I think you're gonna love this recipe. So shepherd's pie, I know people make it differently. They've got their style, they've got the way they make it. I like to make mine with ground pork, and I like to make it with ground beef. Of course, the Irish way is to make it with lamb, but I like it to make it with these two types of meat. And then we're going to chop up lots of vegetables. We're going to make the best whipped mashed potatoes for the topping. And we're gonna make a really, really yummy beef flavored gravy to go into the meat and the vegetables. It's so good, it's so hearty. It's absolutely one of my family's favorite meals. It's one of mine. So as always, when cooking pasta or cooking potatoes, they always are so much more flavorful when you salt the water before you start boiling. So I'm just taking a really hearty, large tablespoon kosher salt, put that in, and let that water come to a boil, and those potatoes will taste so good. So cooking's different for everybody. Sometimes you want to be by yourself in the kitchen and just kind of unwind and relax. But also it can be a really fun thing to do with others. Get your kids, teach them how to peel some potatoes, let them do this part of it, and then you can focus on chopping some of the other vegetables. But today I'm going to peel and dice up these russet potatoes. They're a great potato for, baking, but they're great for mashing, and they have lots of nice flavor. So I'm going to probably peel, 10 or 12 of these great potatoes. So before we start with our ground beef and ground pork, I'm going to dice up some onions, some carrots, some celery, and some garlic. And we're going to dice those up really, really finely and fry them up in our large cast iron pan here. So shepherd's pie is a bit of work, lots of chopping if you want to have fresh cut vegetables, and of course lots of potatoes. But the great thing about a shepherd's pie is you can make a big one for your family, but you can also make a small one for a friend or someone who just had a baby, or a family who's grieving the loss of somebody, or welcoming someone to your neighborhood. So shepherd's pies are great to make in bulk, and so that's why I always cook really large amounts of food. Okay, lots of dicing here. And I'm also going to add in, normally what I would have would be like corn on the cob, but I did buy a frozen pack of veggies, and it's got some carrots in here too, so we're gonna have lots of carrots. But I like niblets, yellow corn, and green peas, and they're great in shepherd's pies as well. And then we're gonna add in some rosemary and thyme, and salt, pepper, and Worcestershire sauce. And that'll help build that great beef flavor in our shepherd's pie. Let's get going. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna start with, before we do our vegetables, I'm gonna fry up the ground pork and the ground beef, and then once it's cooked, I'm going to remove it and I'll do the veggies in the same pan, but then we'll have all the really nice flavor from the meat for the veggies. So as always, pour potato and hot liquid water like this away from yourself. A nice strainer. Now look at all that steam. We want this to dry out, and then we want to put the potatoes back into this hot, hot, hot pot. Drain off all that water, and then you want to let them sit for just a couple of minutes and steam off all of the moisture, and then we're going to start adding butter, cream, all that delicious stuff. But we want them to be dry, and then they'll taste that much better. So we've got a little bundle of thyme and rosemary. I'm just gonna put a little bit of just some cotton string around that. We're gonna put that right into the meat. Then we're going to season this ground beef and pork, a little sprinkle of salt, and we're going to put a good healthy serving of freshly ground pepper. That always gives some good taste, a bit of a kick. And then we're going to let this continue frying up with those herbs. You can see them kind of steaming almost in the ground beef and pork here, and they're gonna add really great flavor into the meat. Okay, we've got some oil in our hot pan here. I'm gonna grab our veggies and we'll get those cooking. And then we'll get ready to add in our ground beef and ground pork. So here we go. Love the sizzle. So that's going to take a little bit, maybe 5 to 10 minutes for everything to kind of get soft, the carrots especially, and the celery. They're quite crunchy. And we want them to be, you don't want them to be crunchy in a shepherd's pie, so we need them to be really softened up. We've got lots of garlic in there. Okay, so that's a labor of love, but it's worth it, I promise. We've got our butter in here, we've got our potatoes all riced up, and we are going to add just some beautiful cream. I like to use about 10%. Sometimes people add in sour cream, cream cheese, whatever you like to do to make your mashed potatoes taste as good as possible. But honestly, like, this is just gonna cream up and it's gonna be so soft and delicious. I'm just gonna work on this, and then I might pipe this into a bag. We'll see, stand by. All right, so everything has come together very nicely. We're gonna take out our little bundle of fun here, put that to the side. And then this is when we're gonna build that sort of beef flavor. We've got some Worcestershire sauce, and that gives some really, really fantastic flavor. So I've got kind of a large tablespoon. You know me, I just kind of like eyeball it here. So probably 2 tablespoons there. And we're just gonna have that mix in with all the really nice kind of juice that's off the meat here, and the liquid that's come out of the vegetables. We're gonna mix that in. And then I've got some beef stock here. Just gonna pour that in, because this is essentially like the gravy. This is what we want. And you do want a good amount of liquid down there. We might have to add a little bit of flour just to give it a bit of a thickening up, but we'll see how it goes. So I added a little sprinkle of flour just so we can have a bit of a thickened gravy. Now I'm gonna add in these, they were frozen veggies, so they take no time at all. You add those right in. You've got all kinds of great color, great flavor. We've got extra carrots here today, but nothing wrong with that. This is great. And then we're gonna have the potatoes on top of this. It's gonna soak into some of that gravy. That's why you want that good liquid there. And then we're gonna bake it in the oven. There we go. Okay, so here it is, our completed shepherd's pie. Now I did get a little ambitious with the whole piping bag thing, but I relaxed a bit. I did do some little rosettes around the corner, or around the edges. You know, there's our fancy for today. But shepherd's pie, it's a fantastic family dish. Sometimes you just want to let it sit for a few minutes before you serve it, just so it can set, so it's not so liquidy when you take it apart. But we don't have time for that. We have to eat, because that's just what we do here. So, get this nice big scooper. You want to get lots of potato, lots of gravy. Look at that. Look at all those really awesome veggies in there, and out on the plate. So we've got, when I go back inside, get a little bit of liquid, some liquid there. Pour that on the side too. See how creamy and wonderful those potatoes are. We're gonna garnish with some fresh parsley from our little windowsill garden here in the winter. And then it's gonna be time to eat. So, shepherd's pie, it's a family favorite. I've been making it forever. We've kind of leveled up a little bit with some of the fancy parts of it all. But at the end of the day, it's just a hearty, flavorful, home-cooked meal that everyone loves. It's great to share, so make extra and go give one to your neighbor or someone who just had a baby or whatever. Oh my gosh. Shepherd's pie. Gotta make it.